who believe the industry skews left when it comes to issues of free speech. But now, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley is looking to make some sweeping changes when it comes to how the government regulates tech companies. Satya Marar is a tech contributor for Young Voices. He's up late with me tonight on the Final Five. Welcome back.
Hey, good to be here.
All right, talk to me here. So we know that there has been a push, there's been an effort. People believe that big tech, when it comes to social media companies especially, there's a perception that they skew left, that they minimize conservatives. So you have Josh Hawley, who is a senator from Missouri. He has an idea here.
Yeah, he certainly does, and it's not a very good one. Unfortunately, we have a running trend nowadays of politicians who want to appear tough on the big tech bogeyman. They score political points in the process, but they seem to be a lot less concerned about whether consumers and whether small American businesses will be better or worse off in the end. So, you know, he's a bit angry, perhaps rightly, at the fact that big tech companies are sometimes so large and influential. They often, have been convicted, in case of Facebook, of data privacy breaches and so on. But a solution is to radically overhaul and really get rid of the existing FTC by absorbing it into the Department of Justice, being a part of the executive branch of government, replacing its 5 commissioners who come from different political backgrounds with a single political appointee chosen by the Senate every 5 years. The problem with this system is it's going to create a more aggressive organization that is less likely to endorse the kind of light touch, innovation encouraging regulation which it currently does. And it could be the political tool of any incumbent government. And this is very concerning, especially for conservatives.
So the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, which is, I believe it's what, the Commerce Department right now? Is that where it falls? But it would, regardless, they want to move it under the purview of the Justice Department. Here's the thing that strikes me here. Something like this, if you just say Missouri Senator Josh Hawley proposed this radical realignment, because he's proposed things in the past, like telling YouTube you can't automatically play the next video in a playlist. He's proposed things like that. He is a Republican. This is not something that you hear coming from people in the GOP. You know, they're about free markets. They're about innovation. They're about unshackling companies from regulation. This flies in the face of that.
Oh, this completely does. And look, conservatives do have, some, good complaints in the sense that occasionally conservative content has been removed wrongly, usually by mistake, by some of the moderators on these platforms.
Yeah.
But this is absolutely the wrong answer. Now, keep in mind, when the shoe's on the other foot, when you're actually increasing government power, executive overreach, and government intervention in the name of threatening these companies, look, we've got people like Joe Biden, who until recently was a very realistic frontrunner to be president, who has actually come out saying that he wants to pass punitive laws against these companies because they don't censor conservatives enough. It absolutely, blows my mind. What sort of long game are you trying to play over here? When we have an FTC that, by and large, does a pretty decent job and has, in fact, fined companies like Facebook billions of dollars for the wrongdoing they actually have done.
So you, last time we talked to you, we had you on Skype from Australia, and we were talking about, you mentioned data encryption. Just before we go, we talk about the government here, we talk about politicians and their grasp on how they get the idea of how big tech works and how social media works and how it integrates with our culture. Did they get it better in Australia than you perceive them getting that here in the United States?
Oh, definitely not. I could write an entire essay on everything Australia is doing wrong. In fact, I was going to say that one of the beautiful things about America is that, you have your First Amendment, you have your free speech protections.
Absolutely.
So really the sheer degree of censorship that the government itself pushes in terms of laws in Australia is not a thing over here. And I think that's something that every American should be thankful for, because politicians will weaponize these laws and use it to appeal to their bottom line. They do not often have the interests of ordinary people at heart.
And one quick thing before we go, because you mentioned about how some of these companies will censor, or they'll remove items, and then they'll say it was a mistake. If I'm a conservative and I post something and it's pulled down and it was completely legitimate, and they said, oh, it was a mistake, I think that engenders even more distrust towards these social media companies. So I don't think they're doing themselves any favors either.
Oh, definitely not, no. And we've seen a backlash from conservatives in this regard, and the pressure that's been brought to bear has actually to some degree changed the actions of these media companies. But look, we just need to be very careful here. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's have sensible solutions. Let's hold these companies to account, but let's do it reasonably. Because ultimately, if you over-regulate, you're not affecting the big companies. They have the lawyers, they have the money. You're affecting smaller players, making it harder for them to compete. maybe even entrenching the monopoly.
Once upon a time, Facebook and Twitter were those smaller players. Satya, Marar, good to see you again.
Yep, good to be here. Thanks.
Back after this in the Final Five.